Um, so I'm just reporting in with a little bit of symptomology. Of course, I'm reporting the symptomology from the forced poisoning that I received at the hands of Dr. Lau and the St. Joseph's Health Center. If you've never been on psychotropic drugs, it's very hard to maybe understand what that experience feels like. So I'm going to have to display some other things that I'm more knowledgeable about than, say, a quack or any lawyer or any half-educated doctor that thinks they're intelligent. And that is, of course, the theory of mind. Conventional thinking doesn't separate the mind from the brain. And of course, that is fundamentally flawed as a concept. Your brain, just like my brain, operates in a way like it is a highway with many nooks and crannies and places for cars to travel. When you place a person on psychotropic drugs, what you are doing is shutting down various highways in that person's brain, and you are limiting their ability to use their body. So the logic, I guess, of the psychiatrist is so flawed that the medical practice of psychiatry is a human rights violation. And frankly, they say all lawyers ought to be chained to the bottom of the ocean. Well, I think that's debatable. I think there's still a lot of good lawyers. But I think most psychiatrists should probably just be lined up against a wall and shot. Now, obviously, that's the United Nations decision to make. I'm just someone that puts out, a call for justice, So here I am, laying in bed this morning, and as this whatever I was injected with starts to wear off, I start to get these minor seizures. It's excruciatingly painful. What's known as, of course, the brain zaps. And it's impeded my ability to just simply go out and tell jokes, which is what I wanted to do as a comedian. Oh, you see, and it's also, of course, got into my hand-eye coordination, which is, again, of course, part of why these drugs are dangerous, deadly for human consumption even, and should be taken off the market immediately. What psychiatry is an ongoing human rights violation that needs to be ended post-haste. And I feel like until you've been through the back doors and the quiet moments that happened in the privacy of a mental institution, you don't know what torture is. You don't know what mental slavery is. You don't understand what human greed, arrogance, and corruption are. Ashley Smith is but one of many anonymous victims of an ongoing Holocaust that has targeted people that think differently than the academics of their day. I have the right to be different. I have the right to think differently about the world. And I have the right to call for the United Nations to prosecute human rights violations. And I also had a duty to inform those in affected areas that there, because of the Nuremberg precedent, there are real world consequences for these egregious human rights violations. And I think it is in the interests of humanity that psychiatry is stopped immediately. It is an experiment into human beings. Psychiatry is, of course, that values a human life at maybe 75 cents. I created a theoretical economic philosophy for the human race to get through this portion of our history. And in that, the main thing that changed was the value that was being placed on a human life. So the way the currency works is that one pi equals one person's achieved potential. And another way of saying that is one pi equals one life. And that's the value of this theoretical currency. Because a pi currency is worth $5,000 Canadian as of the last check, and 75 cents American. It'll be interesting to see what the Chinese are going to argue a pi is worth in yen. But, and also what the Russians would say about it. But, that's the thing. It's a theoretical currency. And so there is a certain point where it needs to be talked about by other people than myself for it to stop being a theory. What frustrates me is that psychiatrists feel like they're allowed to block the creation of a new theory because they don't understand the brilliance behind it. Well, that's not my problem, of course. What is my problem is the amount of agony and pain I'm in by having neurotransmitters blocked in my highway that's limiting my mind's ability to use my brain and body. So that is my problem with forced psychotropic drugging. It is, of course, a human rights violation that is most egregious. And justice should be doled out accordingly, Let the psychiatrists see how this feels. They'll love it, I'm sure.